MiniWarGaming rules you got wrong.
Hello everyone, welcome to this week. Well, try this again. Hello everyone, welcome to this week. I'm leaving it in. And welcome to this week's episode of Rules You Got Wrong, Warhammer 40k edition. Lee's in the background, so if I start looking off that way, or if I just pick up my shoe and throw it across the room, it's because she's back there making faces. So it's our weekly show where we're just going to read the comments from last week's battle reports. Unfortunately, Matt won't be able to comment on his battle report last week. He's not here this week. But I had one going up, or I had a pairing going up of Dark Angels. So let's get right to the comments and see what's what. So, Dark Angels versus Space Wolves, Warhammer 40k Battle Report, episode 69. Now, I want to point out something before I can get into all the comments. There's one thing I wasn't going to mention, but Irving, or Kevin. Oh, which one of you guys did I play that day? This is embarrassing, they're twins. Which one of you guys did I play that day? I'm not even sure which, this is embarrassing. I don't remember which one of you guys I played that day. He brought a few extra points, but it was completely unintentional on his part. We were just goofing around having a lot of fun with the battle report, so there's no, it was a minor mistake on his part. Don't worry about that part. A couple people comment on it, but we're not going to get any further on that one. Azek Amarian, at 52 minutes, you could overwatch with the passengers from the Rhino when it was charged. Yep, I didn't do any overwatching from my rhinos. Undead and Happy, can Thunderwolves charge after they rally? Yeah, they have the initial no fear special rule. They're Space Marines, they do the normal Space Marine thing. Valor calls, I thought combat squads of bikes turned into 5 biker squads, then 3 bikes and attack bike squad with attack bike. Is it different for Dark Angels? It is different for Dark Angels. It is the way I broke my guys up, because we're not maximum 8 or 10, whatever Space Marines maximum is, it's maximum 6 with an attack bike, and to combat squad you have to have a full squad with an attack bike, and you break up into 3, 3, and 1, just the way I did it. Daniel TMU, Steve, at 4 minutes. Oh, same comment. You showed you broke your Ravewing bike squad into combat squads, but you did it incorrectly, illegally. Look at the rules for combat bike squads. I did. And I did it right. Look at the rules for combat bike squads for Dark Angels. Freak hee hee. Cavalry have moved through cover, so they automatically pass dangerous terrain tests. Didn't make a difference, but good to know. No, they don't. Good to know. Ham Nurgler? Ham Nurgler. That's a good name. Do Dark Angels Overwatch at full BS or BS2? I thought it was BS2, but there was a ton of BS4 Overwatch and it did a ton of damage. Excuse my ignorance if I got it wrong. Have not played Dark Angels. Yeah, I was playing the Lions Blade Detachment, which I explained at the beginning of the video, which gave them that special ability to do all overwatching on Ballistic Skill 4, which is pretty cool, and was, as you saw, really powerful. Maybe too powerful. Carl T at 1 hour and 5 minutes. The jump pack units couldn't use their Hammer of Wrath because they used the jump packs in the movement phase. I went back and watched, and you are right. I jumped, and then I used Hammer of Wrath. So I cheated. Kevin. A little bit on that one. I'm a little embarrassed.
Yeah.
I've played them both. I think I have. They look the same.
Being twins and
all twins look no. Latik, I can't pronounce your name, dude. Latat, I don't know. Around 13 minutes and 50 seconds. Grav Cannon should only have shot 3 times since the Rhino moved. Yep, I moved that thing first. There's an excuse. Totally excuse, you're right. I moved that Rhino first and I shot that thing last, and that was like 10 minutes later and I forgot. Lucas Troller says at 19 minutes 22 seconds, don't use snap when you shoot Overwatch. Again, Lions Blade Detachment means I fire Overwatch at full ballistic skill. Okay, Eldrass 88. That's it, 88. Actually, the Marine from 4758 should be dead from the Gets Hot. Wounds on a 2 with no armor save. No, that's not how Get Hot works at all. It's just if you get hot, you roll an armor save. There's no roll to wound, and you do get an armor save. Grammy Sims At around 22:53, Dark Angels hit on 4s, but aren't Thunderwolves weapon skill 5? A weapon skill 4 hits weapon skill 5 on a 4. I don't know. Do you mean to think that they would hit on 5s? It's weapon skill 5? To hit on 5s, you basically have to be double plus 1. Sorry, your target has to have double plus 1 your weapon skill to hit on 5s. So weapon skill 4 hits weapon skill 5 on 4s. Moving on. Mastercliff says, typical Space Marines of double demi company with grav spam versus standard wolves with... I didn't have a double demi company. I had one demi company. Is that half typical?
Yeah.
Oh. Eldras again, another one. Why did you put your HQ librarian on a bike in the formation? Because in the lines by detachment, I'm able to take a command choice, which is the inner circle, and one of the options is librarian. The librarian can buy a bike in the double dummy company. Nope, just the regular dummy company. The lines by detachment. I'm getting all saucy today.
Yeah, I like it.
Just having fun, guys. The Gamesman says, Steve, 2514 with the big comment, I believe that Zealot rule applies to anyone in the same combat, meaning that everyone should be rolling hits. No, it doesn't work that way. It's just a unit. So I had that chaplain jump in with one unit of assault marines, and the other guys got in as well. But no, he only zealots his own guys, his own squad. And that is that battle report. That's fantasy. We'll do that in a moment. Now we're on to another battle report, episode 70, Dark Angels vs. Chaos Space Marines. Syndrome says, great game. Love to see the Dark Angels on the board. Don't think it would have won you the game, but Semel, I can't say his name, also has a twin-linked Storm Bolter, and his rules allow him to fire 2 weapons thanks to Swift Vengeance. Yeah, I had to look that one up. I must have missed that one. But yeah, you're right. Oxford 1990, Steve, why are you winning on a 2+ with grav weapon against power armor? Because I like to cheat. It helps me to win my games, Lee.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I cheated. That's my bad. I don't know what I was thinking. Go with a brain fart. I thought they all had artificer armor.
They totally do.
Totally do. I was playing against noise marines and stuff.
Oh yeah, there's 2 upsets.
I figured they're all kinds of artisans, right? Akora says, Steve, Samael has hatred. Chaos Space Marines would have killed the noise marines much sooner if you did that. Yes, I forgot. He's Deathwing. Yeah, that's it.
So Steve is wrong. I am going to do my rules he got wrong this week. I just decided to come in and film them. I am still off for another few days though. But I had to do them because I had a couple battle reports go up, and unfortunately I got a lot of rules wrong with my Necron one versus the Khorne Demon Kin. There's also some stuff that I got right that people thought I got wrong, but let's go over that right now. So the Necrons versus Khorne Demonkin one. Red Corsair says Necron Overlords only have access to 4-up invuln. And I really should say Red Corsair plus like 30 other people. I was giving him a 3-up invuln with his phase shifter, which really, really, really sucks because he would have died in that fight against the Chaos Lord. And that could have really changed the game, or maybe not, but we don't know, and that's the problem. So I'm really sorry to my opponent because I did roll several 3s, including an instant death wound as well. So maybe he would have made his reanimation protocols, because you can still even roll them with instant death. It's just a little harder, but we don't know. And so I know that that's disappointing, and I do apologize for that. And Reaper autocannons, there are 2 shots twin-linked, and we were firing them as 3 shots. So yeah, I don't know why we got that wrong. Red Corsair also, Berserkers are strength 5 on the charge. Also, Demonic Possession does not grant an invuln to Hellbrutes. He does still make rolls on the Craze table, however. Yeah, I was not as familiar with the Khorne stuff, and so I didn't know that it didn't have Demonic Possession. So, and Kentucky Root said Bloodletters are also strength 5 on the charge. So they are Furious charged, and somehow we forgot that. Sindista, when the Wraith charged a Cultist around 24 minutes, the second unit with 3 rays ended up right next to the Hellbrute. Wouldn't the rays still need to be 1 inch away from an enemy unit they aren't engaged with? No. They're not allowed to be in base contact with them, and I'm pretty sure they weren't in base contact, but it does say specifically that they're allowed to come in within 1 inch of an enemy unit, and this is an exception to that rule. It just says they can't end up in base contact with the unit they didn't charge, and I'm pretty sure I wasn't in base contact with the Hellbrute. I'm pretty sure. So maybe, I didn't have a timestamp here, so I wasn't able to find the exact spot. Ozek Ahriman, killing the Lord with the axe that summons a Bloodthirster would not give you Warlord kill. That's correct. You would also need to kill the Bloodthirster. It's in the new FAQ for the Khorne Demonkin. That's right. So you have to actually kill the subsequent Bloodthirster before you get Warlord kill and slay the Warlord. Sorry, the one tactical objective. Carl T, the Hellbrute hits on 3s instead of 4s. Yeah, once again, my opponent thought it was Blizzard skill 3, and I didn't know personally because I don't play a lot of the Khorne stuff to know that was Blizzard skill 4. Freak, hee at 24 minutes, whip coils have no AP. Okay, I play Tyranids as well, and I don't play Necrons very often anymore because, let's face it, they're pretty boring. And Tyranid Gene Stealers, Rending Claws, are AP 5, and then they're Rending. And so for some reason, because I knew that the Rays had the had Rending, sorry, they have Rending? Yeah. I was making them AP 5 base, which means that the Cultist didn't get any saves. I don't know if that would have made a huge difference, but yeah, that was totally brain fart right there. Freaky, he also, page 15 in a Necron Codex. The assault phase whip coils modify your initiative for the entire fight subphase, which includes determining assault results and sweeping advances. That's one thing I hadn't looked up yet, because this iPad didn't have... I forgot my iPad at home, so I'm borrowing Steve's. For some reason, his Necron Codex isn't downloaded on this one. Maybe because he doesn't ever play them. I wonder why. So let's see if it does actually determine for the entire assault subphase. What you're saying is that when I make the initiative check to see if I sweeping advance, I would use initiative 5, not initiative 2. So let's see if you're right at all about that, because that's pretty cool if that is the case. Whip coils. Swift Strike. They get +3 initiative during the fight subphase. So I'm not sure though, because I'm going to look it up and down in the main rule book, because let's look under sweeping advances, which I have it right here. Because if you had like a power fist that makes the initiative 1, you'd still roll at your base initiative. And add their, here it is. Both when a sweeping advance is performed, both the unit falling back and the winning unit roll a d6 and add their unmodified initiative to the result. So I was correct. You do only use their initiative 2. And that way, if you're using Power Fist and you're an initiative 4 Space Marine, you still get your initiative 4 when you're doing a sweeping advance. So that is important to get that one right. So we did that one right. Big Gaz, at about certain minutes in, when the cultists charged, they shouldn't have been able to because they fired rapid-fire weapons in the shooting phase. That is correct. Honus Belly, are you actually forced to use Death from the Skies, or is it just a supplement? It's interesting because at first I would have told you, well, it's technically a rules replacement because that's how it's worded in their own book. But then in the Deathwatch Codex it says, if you are using Death from the Skies, then we've included the Pursuit and Agility. And then there was, I think, another thing that mentioned an if as well. And so they've implied that it can be, you can choose not to use it. Which makes sense because it's not currently in the rule book, so you'd actually have to buy it to use it. So if you don't even know it exists, how would you definitely have to use it? So I would say yes, it is optional. And that's how we're playing it now. Ever since the Deathwatch Codex came out and had that wording in it, we're like, oh, okay, they don't intend for this to be a replacement. They intend for it to be a choice, a supplement, if you want to use it, which is great because a lot of people don't like it. Like a lot of people, including myself. I do like certain parts of it, but overall I don't like it. In 1 million, at about an hour and 12 minutes in, race charged fleeing cultists. They would have to test to regroup before any overwatch or charges. Well, they can't overwatch with the new FAQ. If you're fleeing, you can't overwatch. But to test the regroup, it's interesting. You're right, but it also doesn't matter. Because what it says is if they're found to be within charge distance, so I make my charge roll, and yes, I can make it, then they have to test the regroup. If they fail, then they're just removed from play after all charge moves are made. So you still actually go in. So if they're 9 inches away, you roll and you get 9, and then they fail, they regroup, then you move them into charging, or you actually charge them in, and then they're removed. So the fact that we charge in first and then they rolled really doesn't make a difference. So either way, it has no impact on the rules whatsoever. But you are technically right. They are supposed to roll it before I actually move in. But not before I roll for charging. I have to make sure I can make the charge first. Dark Knight 1664, as of the new GW FAQ, which you are using, a flyer can jink even if it's not targeted if hit by a blast. Yeah, that's right. Now things can actually jink if they're hit at all with a blast, which is interesting. Makes sense. Even if, sure, you weren't targeted, but there's an explosion happening, they might be like, whoa, get out of the way. So I like that ruling. Yorkshire Pudding. I don't understand the Bloodthirster combat. First off, talks about the 3-up invuln, but 2, how come the Lich Guard could attack if he was in a challenge? You can attack into a challenge if there's nothing else to attack. It's as simple as that. It's even in the FAQ. There's a bit of an in the FAQ that's on their website. The picture is wrong because it's copying and pasting answers from the previous page. But you go and look in the text form, and it says they can. Basically, when the two things are in a challenge, if there's 2 units and 2 guys are in a challenge, the guys outside of the challenge cannot allocate wounds inside the challenge unless there's nobody else to allocate wounds to. And also inside the challenge, they cannot allocate wounds outside of it unless they've killed the challenger or challengee. Like if they do 5 attacks and they do 5 wounds and the guy dies from one of them, the other 4 wounds would then be allocated outside the challenge. And the only other thing is that you use the general weapon skill and toughness of whatever you're not fighting. So in the challenge, they use the weapon skill and toughness of the guys they're fighting. Outside of it, they use the general ones. But if there's a unit and a character, and they're in a challenge with just another character, then these guys will just all attack that character. The only restriction would be the character attacking back can only allocate wounds first to who they're in a challenge with. That is 100% correct. So you can double check that, but I know that is right. Patrick Marcugini, why can't the Catan shoot 2 powers each turn? They are monstrous creatures. Monstrous creatures allow you to fire 2 weapons, but it doesn't say you can fire the same weapon twice. Furthermore, the power of the Catan, it just doesn't say that. It just says it's treated as a shooting attack. I would like for them to be able to use 2 per turn, but and I think even in there, actually in the FAQ, it even clarifies that they're not supposed to be able to fire 2 of them. So it's more like it'd be nice if they could do it, but if I have a monstrous creature who has 1 gun, he doesn't get to fire the gun twice. Rarely does something allow a weapon to fire more than once. There'd have to be a very special rule for that. Ivo Henschke. Hi, Matt. Race have 2 wounds each, not 1. Yep, I know that. What was happening there was a lot of the race had already lost a wound from being shot at from different angles, so most of them were down to a wound. The Johnsonator. Hope someone can help. Matt mentioned at some point the Demon Prince's close combat weapons were AP2. Is this a mistake, or is it something to do with the fact it's a monstrous creature? It's because it's a monstrous creature, it has a rule called Smash. And the rule that says Smash has 2 parts to it. The first is that all close combat weapons are AP2, unless it's using a weapon that would make it AP1. And the second thing is it can exchange all of its attacks for 1 attack at double strength, maximum 10, and that can reroll failed armor penetration if it wants to. But they are always AP2, unless they have a weapon that makes them AP1. Mike Mulligan. Wait, when the raise attacks the cultist, aren't wounds inflicted in close combat only able to be placed on models in combat, such as the ones within 2 inches of a model and base to base? Or am I mistaken when he removed 11 wounds? You are mistaken. If you look it up, it doesn't mention that at all. It just says that they are allocated as for shooting, that is, to the nearest models. And at first, that's the ones in base contact, but once the base contact ones are removed, then you look at the ones that are nearest. It has no restriction to how far away they can be. So I think there have been editions where you are restricted to certain ones, other editions where you remove them from the back, etc., etc. Josh and McCarthy, Hellbrutes don't have 5-up invuln, you're right. And Bloodthirsters have 5 wounds, not 6. So once again, like I said, I'm not super familiar with Khorne Daemonkin, although I got some of my Necron rules wrong too, so it's not like I'm putting this all on my opponent. Then the Vault Battle Report was Tau versus Adeptus Mechanicus, which there's not very many rules you got wrong to go over, but because I guess we didn't get many things wrong, which is good, but although the game was a little one-sided. Destiny Fish, where can I find the rule for doubling the move through cover for knights, or is it a house rule? It's in the FAQ. Actually, no. Yeah, the FAQ says it. For super heavy walkers and gargantuan creatures, when they roll their difficult terrain rolls, and they both have move through cover, they roll 3d6, take the highest, and double it, which makes perfect sense because they move 12 inches, so they should double that. We had that as a house rule before, actually, before the FAQ said it, but now the FAQ has actually said it. Samarius, you say the last Ghost Keel can only hit the first crawler, but it was a unit of Ghost Keels, so all would fire at the same time. That is incorrect. You actually pick a unit, you pick a target, and then you choose a weapon, and you resolve it weapon by weapon. And so if one of the weapons, let's say all your weapons are the same range, but there's 2 different weapons, and one's further away, and this one fires and kills the thing, and the next one is now out of range, it cannot fire. If they were the same weapon, then they would fire at the same time, and so that would work. On top of that, the Ghost Keels could have split fire too, so but yeah, for sure, we go weapon by weapon. So you choose one weapon, you resolve that weapon on everybody who has it, and then you go to the next weapon, you resolve it, which means if things are no longer in range, it cannot fire. Or if things are at a rapid fire range, it's now just 1 shot, or whatever. Joyful Suspenders, Rest Stalkers, and Infiltrators are toughness 4. I did not know that. Now I do. Grendel, don't skimmers have to take an immobilization test when starting or ending in terrain? Yes, they do. However, my Devilfish all had sensor spines, which gives them move through cover, which means they automatically pass dangerous terrain tests. That's why you give it to them, so they never get immobilized from moving into cover. Polynomial, hey Matt, disruption pods give +1 cover, but where did the stealth come from? First turn there was night fighting. and that's where you're watching, because somebody else pointed out when it was, and that was still during the first turn. My guys had turbo boosted or flat outed up, and they were in, then had their disruption pods, and the guys fired at them, and I had a jink, and then +1 cover, and then stealth, so that makes them 2-up cover. I think he might have had, not an auspex, but whatever you call that thing, that gives the -1 cover. But I can't remember if he used it or if he had it on the unit, so there might have been only supposed to have a 3-up cover. But I definitely had stealth in the first turn. And that's it. That's all of mine.
That's it for this week's Rules You Got Wrong, Warhammer 40k edition. Just my stuff. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for commenting. Happy wargaming.